All right, everyone. So in this video here, I was going to talk about something else, but I've heard about this and I just had to talk about it. And that is the TurboGrafx-16 Mini is going to be a real thing. Now, you may be laughing at this, like, oh, geez. So, in this case, Konami. Oh, geez, Konami, you're seriously jumping onto the bandwagon? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to give credit to Konami on this, as long as they don't mess this up. The TurboGrafx-16, was competing with the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis back in the day. It actually came out in '89. I believe the TurboGrafx-16, at least when it came to the United States, it came out first, I believe. Let's see. TurboGrafx-16, when was this announced? August 29th, 1989. August 14th. Okay, so the Genesis did technically come out first. But then, about 2 weeks later or so, the TurboGrafx-16 came out. But yeah, they both roughly came out around the same time. But here's the thing, is that the platform itself, in terms of commercial success, between that, the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx-16 was dead last. It was like in another planet. It did not sell well here in the US. In Japan, it actually sold well. And that's why I think the Japanese version is actually going to sell really well, because the PC Engine was actually more successful in Japan than the Sega Mega Drive was over in Japan. The Mega Drive in Japan was actually in third place. Unless something changed later on towards the end of it, but for most of its life, the Mega Drive wasn't doing horrible, but it wasn't doing the numbers that Sega wanted to when compared to the competitors. But here in the United States, though, most people do not even know what a TurboGrafx-16 is. So it's going to be interesting how well this thing sells. I don't know if this thing is actually going to sell that well, though. That's what it's a little bit confusing to me. But personally, for me, I'm well aware of the system, and for a short time, I actually used to have one back in the day. But let's just keep going here. If you're wondering why Konami is handling this, the original console was a joint effort between NEC and Hudson. Konami became Hudson's parent company back in 2005, and then absorbed its operations in 2012, meaning it owns the brand and all of its properties. So Konami owns all of this. That's why they can do this. And on a business sense, not a bad thing to do. As long as they price it right, have the games that people want on it, and also do not screw up the emulation on this thing. As long as Konami covers those three things, there's not going to be much to complain about. The only hurdle Konami's going to have trouble with is when this comes out, people are going to be looking at it, it's like, what the hell is this? This is obviously, some people might even look at this like, oh man, this is like a cheap knockoff of a NES Classic or, the Sega Genesis Mini. So we'll have to wait and see how well this does. Personally, for me, I'm actually kind of excited about this. So the 6 games that was announced for the North American European market, it's going to be R-Type, Ys Book 1 and 2, New Adventure Island, Ninja Spear, Alien Crush, and Dungeon Explorer. The Japanese version gets Bonk's Adventure, Dracula X, the Kung Fu / Ninja Warrior, Ys 1 and 2, Superstar Soldier, and Dungeon Explorer. Interesting, Ys and Dracula X are CD-ROM games, meaning we could be seeing more titles not just from the TurboGrafx-16, but from the TurboGrafx CD as well. If Konami adds basically all of the more high-profile games that people want when they're going out like on eBay or swap meets and picking up the CD versions of the games, if Konami was smart enough and just put all those games on there, this, for most people, would be an instant buy. It doesn't have to have every single game that came out for it. Though interesting, though, I would be wondering if Street Fighter 2 comes out for the mini console. Because there was a version of Street Fighter 2 for the TurboGrafx-16. It was on a special higher capacity hue card, but it was available on here. It would be kind of cool if Konami actually did put that in there, though I don't know how well it will work with this controller, though, because it is basically a Turbo Switch version of a NES controller. So you have your D-pad, start and run, and then 1 and 2. And then you got your little switches up here. So it will be interesting to see what happens with this. If they do it right and it's priced correctly, I could actually see myself picking one up. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm in the minority, but what are your thoughts? Do you think this thing is going to be successful? Are you going to pick one up? Or are you just going to wait and see if this ends up being like a complete dumpster fire like the PlayStation Classic was? Leave those comments down below. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And like always, have a good one.